We're only a week away from Filex 2017, and if you're attending, then I would love to invite you to the Fitness Business Podcast Inaugural Meetup for fitness business owners, managers, and staff who want to connect. The meetup is a morning walk to get the blood pumping, the heart beating, and the brain full of oxygen, all whilst talking business. This is an active networking opportunity, so come along and join me on Friday, April 28th at 6 a.m. To register, just go to today's show notes and click on the logo that says Meetup Filex 2017.
Active Management are proud to be the premier sponsor of the Fitness Business Podcast. For everyone this week in the FBP family, we have a free blueprint to select champions so you can get your team culture hustle mode on. Just go to fitnessbusinesspodcast.com/active.
Welcome back, everyone. Today's guest is Stu McLaren, who is an expert at launching, growing, and scaling online membership sites. During the interview, we discuss how doing fewer annual promotions can actually equate to more membership sales, and he gives us tips on converting leads through email marketing. Also in today's show, we have a bonus interview with Mckenzie, the author of I Hate Selling, and he's going to give us some great tips on ways that personal trainers can improve their closing ratio. Before we get into all of that, I first wanted to tell you about two apps that I am loving right now. One of them I've been using for ages and it is just the best, and the other one that I've only recently started using and it is sensational. The first one is Typorama. Basically, it's a super fast way to create graphics on your phone. It has all of the sizes inbuilt for things like Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, plus it's got your standard sizes like 4x3 and 16x9. So you can choose the free images that they provide, or you can upload your own pictures that you've been taking. Then you overlay it with this huge range of font types. The best bit is, most recently, they've also added the option to watermark your image. And what that means is that you can upload your business logo to any image that you create, and you can have that on the graphic file. It is just the best tool for creating really quick social media tiles. I love it. Now, the second one is called Dictation. It's a voice to text app. It is super simple and it's really accurate, which is unreal. And basically what you do is you speak into your phone and it converts it automatically to text. And then you can email the file or text it or Facebook it or tweet it directly from there. So if you're like me and you've often got ideas while you're driving or cooking, or you just don't have time or a spare hand, I should say, to write it down or to type it, then Dictation is the best app. So that's it. Typorama and Dictation, two of my current favorites. I hope that they might come in handy for some of you as well. Now, before we get into this week's show, here is a word from one of our podcast partners, Tribe Team Training. Are you interested in increasing your center's income and your trainer's income from small group training? Tribe Team Training is the new way to get more members engaged in small group training and paying extra. Click the Tribe Team Training link in the show notes or go to tribeteamtraining.com.au/podcast for your free formula to see how much income you can make from small group training. So we didn't get to do the pre-core Quickfire 5 with Stu last week, so we're going to mix things up a little bit and kick off today's interview with his answers. Stu, welcome along to the show.
Well, thank you very much for having me. I'm a pleasure to be here.
I'm very excited to have you on, and we've got a bit of a tradition of starting the show with our pre-core Quickfire 5. Are you ready for them?
Hit me.
Okay, tell us, why do you do what you do?
For me, it's about impact. It's about using the business to make a whole bunch of money and then using that money to impact a whole bunch of people's lives, whether it's my family and friends, or it's my local community, or it's, through the charity that my wife and I have founded where we're building schools in Kenya. For me, a business is nothing more than a vehicle to be able to, like I said, make a whole bunch of money and use that money to make a big impact.
Stu, tell us, what's the name of that charity?
It's called World Teacher Aid. And my wife and I started it back in 2009. And we've now to date built, we're working on our 12th school this year. And each school has anywhere between 400 to 700 kids attend.
That's an incredible achievement, and I have had a look at the work that you've done, and we're going to put a link to the charity and to that work in our show notes today so everyone can check it out. Now, tell us, what's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
This was back in 2004, and I mean, I've been fortunate. I've received a ton of great advice. I've had so many amazing mentors and friends and teachers and so forth. But this one really stuck with me, and it was a quote. He said, "You don't have to get it right, you just have to get it going." And I think for a lot of us as entrepreneurs, we, are so hell-bent on just trying to get things perfect before we release anything. And so much time passes, but there's value in just getting it out the door and learning as you go. So I just love that piece of advice. You don't have to get it right. You just have to get it going.
I love that one too. And tell us, what's a personal habit that helps you become better at what you do?
I create boundaries. So for me, family is really important. I've got 2 young kids, and so they're not going to be young forever. So I just really want to value and treasure the time that I have with them and my wife. And so one of the things that I've been very intentional about is creating boundaries. And what happens is, like, when I say that my day ends at 4 o'clock, for example, it really creates a deadline every single day, which forces you to get stuff done. And I just think that, like, if you don't have hard boundaries or guidelines, then you're not as methodical. There's not as much urgency to get things done, and you waste a lot of time. So for me, that's one habit that has definitely served me well, is creating intentional boundaries.
You know what? I think that's particularly relevant for those of you out there that do run your own business, or you're, an entrepreneur that is working, for yourself and not necessarily going into a facility or not necessarily going into an office. It's really great advice on those boundaries.
Yeah, and it's easy not to have them, especially if you work for yourself, because your brain is always on. But I think that there's so many benefits that come from it, not just from a productivity standpoint, but also just creatively and getting your head away from, the day to day and being able to think on bigger things. You got to set boundaries.
Yep, I like that one. Tell us, what's one book that you'd recommend and why?
Well, I'm going to over deliver, and I'm going to give you 2.
Oh, please do.
So the first one is called Essentialism, and the next one is called The One Thing. And essentially, they are 2 books that really force you to get clear on, what's essential in your business and in your life, and then really double down on those things to have the largest impact that you can in your business.
Tell me, who's the author of the One Thing? Because I recall that one of our other guests said that was their recommended book as well.
Yeah, so there's actually 2 authors. The one is Jay Papasan, and the other is Gary Keller.
Right. We'll dig up the link on Amazon for that one, Tribe, so you can jump on and have a look at both of those book recommendations from Stu. Okay, so we're going to call that the Precore Quickfire 4 this week rather than 5. As mentioned at the start of the show, Stu McLaren helps experts transform their knowledge and influence into recurring revenue by launching, growing and scaling 7- and 8-figure membership sites. He's a coach and a consultant, and in addition to being a highly successful entrepreneur, he and his wife have launched a registered Canadian charity called the World Teacher Aid. And as you'll hear today, Stu is passionate about sharing his experience with other entrepreneurs who also want more meaning from their work. Today, we're going to go straight into the main interview where Stu shares his favourite apps and rituals for staying on top of his workload.
All right. So one of the things that I do on a regular basis is I think I mentioned this on the pre-call last time, was that I set clear boundaries. And so for me, I have a morning ritual where I've got 2 young kids. So for me, family time is really important. So I take the kids to school. That's like one of my things I love to do. And I get back at around 9 o'clock. And then from 9 o'clock till 4 o'clock, that's my work day. So it's a pretty decent chunk of time, But at 4 o'clock, nothing ever gets scheduled beyond 4 o'clock, because at 4 o'clock, the day ends, and that's my time to come home with the family. And I literally just shut off. Like, there's no more work. I'm not in that work headspace. I'm there committed to family. And there's a number of benefits that come from that. Like, one is that, there's clear boundaries around the day. And I think that when there's clear boundaries around the day, in my case, my family knows when I'm working and when I'm going to be home and available. And at the same time, I personally am clear about when I'm in work mode and when I'm in family mode. And so it creates a sense of urgency every single day that I've got to get certain stuff done by 4:00 because, that's when we shut off. So for me, that's like one ritual that has really served me well. Another one, and I don't know if this is really a system or a ritual, but I'll share it with you. And that is, I read a great book called Rocket Fuel. And in this book, they talked about two different types of entrepreneurs. One is the visionary. The visionary is the person who is, the person who's continuously coming up with ideas. They're more strategy focused, big picture, that kind of thing. Then there's the other person who's the integrator. The integrator is the one who is able to make processes and systems and make things efficient and be able to scale a business. Now, if each of those are trying to run a business by themselves, a visionary will only get a business so far because they'll come up with some great ideas, but they'll never be efficient and they'll never have a system to be able to scale that business. Whereas an integrator, they will be very efficient. They'll have great systems, but they'll never have the big breakthrough ideas that are necessary to really grow a business. But when you combine the two of them together, that's when magic happens. So I say all that to bring this full circle. Last year, I partnered with my brother-in-law, who is definitely 110% an integrator. He is the kind of person who thinks about systems and processes and all that kind of stuff. And one of the things that, in terms of a ritual that we got into, was in terms of a workflow. And where we do this, I want you to picture at the top is the vision of what you're trying to accomplish. Mm-hmm. And then what we get focused on is, my job is to focus on what we want to accomplish and when we want to do it by. And then his job is to figure out how we do it and who's responsible for each piece. And just having that little breakdown, it's like a little system in terms of how we tackle different ideas, has really helped, because sometimes I was getting involved in too much of the how. And he's like, dude, get out of the how. Like, that's not your forte. Stay in the what we want to do and when we want to do it by. He said, let me handle the how and who. And that little process, that little system's really, really helped us be efficient as a company. And then lastly, for an app, I live every single day in Evernote. So that's one that I'm sure gets mentioned a lot. We use Slack every single day. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure that one gets mentioned a lot. But one that probably maybe doesn't, that I'll share with you, is an app called Ember, E-M-B-E-R. Mm-hmm. And this is for the Mac. I'm not sure if it's available on the PC, or I don't know if they've got a mobile version. But Ember is basically a little tool, an app that I use almost daily to take screenshots of different websites and Facebook ads and things like that. So for me, I'm more of a marketing mindset. I'm always looking at what other people are doing and using it as inspiration, for my own ideas. So that's one app that I use on a very regular basis.
And so I love that, because I'm always taking screenshots as well. So with Ember, does that then file it into that app? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so it all saves it in the app. So you literally, like, every time you open the app, think of it, you have access immediately to the library of all of the things that you've saved, and you can tag them and organize them and all that kind of stuff. So, if I'm in Facebook and I see a couple of Facebook ads that, spark some ideas, I'll screenshot them, tag them with Facebook. And if I'm on a landing page and I like the way they've got that laid out, boom, I'll take a screenshot and tag that landing page. It's just a great way to be able to quickly take screenshots of these sites and capture the ideas and then be able to come back and refer to them pretty easily.
Oh, I love the sound of that. I'm going to download that one. Ember, thank you so much. And we'll make sure that we put it in the show notes as well. Now, Stu, your expertise is around online memberships. Can you tell us, what do you see as the similarities between online memberships and face-to-face sold memberships for, say, a bricks and mortar facility?
Well, I think there's one outstanding similarity, which is that they charge on a recurring basis in order to be able to have access to something, right? Whether it be access to a facility, whether it be access to content. So that's one major similarity. But I think the other side of it is that with both online facilities and offline, what I would say is that creates almost like a sense of community and identity. Like, for example, in Canada, one of the gyms that I had a membership to for many, many years was Good Life. And Good Life, there's a sense of identity. You join, you get the gym bag, you get the whole kit and gear. And there's like gyms all across Canada. I'm not sure if they're into the US as well, but there's this sense of identity that is created, and they want that. They want you to have this identity that you belong to the good life and so forth. Whereas online, it's a similar sort of thing. We're constantly looking to create culture and create a sense of tribe. I know that's a common phrase for you and the podcast listeners with the tribe. And that's exactly what we're trying to do, is we're trying to create a tribe of people who have similar values, similar beliefs, similar philosophies, and who are there to support one another. So I think there's a lot of parallels in regards to both online and offline memberships.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've recently come back from the US, and as far as seeing a bricks and mortar facility take that tribe and that community into their online space, I felt as though SoulCycle, I don't know if you're familiar with SoulCycle, are you?
I knew you were going to say that because,
I feel like they're a great example. Would you agree?
Yeah. Well, I had a couple girlfriends, like friends of mine who in New York who went, and man, they just absolutely loved that place and were raving about it in terms of just the culture and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm a bit addicted to it now, and unfortunately we don't have it in Australia, but I felt as though they did probably the best job that I have seen so far within the fitness industry of being able to extend that membership feel beyond the bricks and mortar facility into their online space.
Yeah, and I would say, like, for the offline business, this is actually probably even easier because you got people in person, and there's a way to, I think there's a real way to be able to do it where it becomes a part of people's rituals and habits to go. And it's not just about, going to work out, for example, but doing it together. And I think that there's a lot of power in that. I remember a couple of years ago, my family moved, but where we used to live, there was a great running club and swimming club. And, I belonged to that. And I mean, it was as much a social thing as it was, the running and the swimming itself, but there was a sense of identity. Like we all, felt we were all passionate about, healthy living and taking care of our bodies and so forth. And so when you've got shared values like that, whether it be online or offline, that's when you really begin to create a powerful and connected tribe.
So, Stu, tell me this. If there was a fitness facility out there that have an established bricks and mortar facility, whether it be a standalone business or a franchise, what type of advice would you give them if they were looking to take those steps into creating the online membership or an online community?
Well, whether they're looking to move online or offline, my advice would be stand for something. In today's world, people have so many options, especially for, fitness facilities. Like you mentioned SoulCycle, I mentioned running club, swimming club, gyms. Like there's so many options for people. Yoga, the list goes on and on. But the thing that I want everybody to make note of is I want you to get real clear on what makes you different and what do you stand for. The thing that will keep people coming back and the thing that really cements a tribe is a shared set of values, beliefs, and philosophy. But the problem is most businesses have no idea what their values are. They have no idea what they believe, and they don't know what their philosophies are. And not only that, but they very rarely ever would communicate it. And so there's no buy-in from anybody. And so my recommendation is get clear on what you stand for and start communicating it, because what's going to happen is you're going to begin attracting people, and they're going to be even more evangelical about you, what you're doing, and what the community as a whole is doing. And that's what really keeps people glued and cemented in that kind of subscription or membership.
Great advice. Thank you so much, Stu. Stu, we got in contact with you because JT from Active Management went along to the Superfast Business Summit where you were presenting. And I believe that one of the things that he was telling me about was that with your membership, you basically, and tell me if I'm correct with this, you open the membership or your courses just a few times per year. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
Can you explain why you do it that way?
Yeah, well, for me, there's two modes. There's like marketing and promotion mode, and then there's delivery mode. And so what typically happens is if the membership or the course or whatever is available, 365 days a year, you're constantly having to promote, and it becomes very, very taxing. So like from a resource management standpoint, it becomes like this hamster wheel of, constant promotion, which takes away the time and energy that you can be put toward actually serving the membership. So it was kind of ironic because, a few years back, I was building a membership site with a partner of mine, and we were open all the time. And so on any given month, we would add anywhere between, 20 to 150 new members a month. But it meant that we had to do a promotion like every single month. We were constantly promoting. So it just like sucked up our promotional calendar. And we were basically, we felt like we were on this hamster wheel of promotion. So in order to create some space on our promotional calendar, we decided to go from being open all the time to being open. We would do 4 promotions a year. Now, I got to tell you, like, I was crapping my pants on this one because it's like, it was a bit of a gamble, like who knew what was going to happen. But anyway, so we went forward with it. And so we committed to 4 promotions per year. Well, the first one that we did, we ended up getting way more people than we would have if we had been open for that 4 months. And it was kind of counterintuitive, right? Like you think, okay, the less I promote, the less that I'm going to get. But it was actually the complete opposite. The less we promoted, the more members we got in a significant way. So before we were adding anywhere between, like I said, 100 to 125. With each promotion that we would do throughout the year, and when we went down to 4, we were adding anywhere between 600 to 800, sometimes even 900 members. Then we had the crazy idea of like, okay, what if we went down to 2 promotions a year? And again, like the same fear, the same anxiety, the same like, dude, what are you doing? Like, this is insane. You can't, risk doing this. But we did it anyway. Well, then the promotions went from, 600 to 900 members per promotion to like, we would do anywhere between 2,500 upwards of 4,000 members per promotion. And it's totally counterintuitive. But here's why it works. When you have fewer promotions, you can make the promotions that you do way bigger because you've got more time to think creatively. You got more time to invest in making sure that they are running well and all that kind of stuff. And so for me, like, I love and I call this a closed, marketing strategy where you close the membership and you only open it up for certain periods of the year because it creates a huge sense of urgency for people to get off their butt and to register. And once you've got them in, then it's about loving on them and, over delivering so they never want to leave. Like we're really, really good at retention. And so that's why, this really works for us.
I'm interested to know just a couple of tips from you on converting leads by utilizing email marketing.
Yeah, well, what I would do is, especially for email marketing, like you want to identify common problems that your market has. And then you want to basically provide incentives that help resolve those problems. So typically when I'm working with a client, what we do is we'll do a big brainstorm on things like what I call external problems and internal problems. So external problems are things like I want to lose weight, I want to get stronger, I want to be leaner, I want to, lift more weight, whatever it may be, right? Those are external problems. People are seeking a solution for something specific. And the way that you think about external problems is that what would somebody go to Google to seek a solution for? That's a perfect idea of an external problem. Internal problems, however, are slightly different. Internal problems are what goes on inside of our minds and inside of our heads that we don't necessarily vocalize, but we're thinking it, we're feeling it. So here's an example. When I sold my business a couple years ago, a software company that I had built up, when I sold it, I had all kinds of internal dialogue that was going on, the things that were keeping me up at night. I was asking myself questions like, have I made the right decision? What if this was a one-hit wonder and I can't repeat my success? Have I put my family in jeopardy by making this decision? Will anybody want to do business with me anymore? These are all like real thoughts, internal dialogue that was keeping me up at night. And here's the magic. When you and I as entrepreneurs can get in tuned and get connected with those internal thoughts that our market is having, my goodness, you will connect with people so quickly and people will feel for the first time understood. And when they feel understood, you don't need to sell. They want to buy from you naturally. And so what I like to do when it comes to converting email leads is I like to identify problems that the market has. And then in the email follow-up, I deliver on whatever solution it may be. And then I begin transitioning, talking about the internal challenges that I know that they are likely having. And that is it's a campaign, it's an email campaign. We speak to that. And the way that I speak to it is I typically do it through stories, telling stories of other people like them experiencing similar problems, and then what that person did in order to resolve that problem. So that's one thing. Another thing that I would say that is very popular with my clients and very effective is we do assessments. People love to do assessments. And I would say the same thing would be very much true in the fitness industry. And that is like, we love to know where we kind of rank and where we stand or what type of person we are. So in fact, this morning I was talking to a client of mine who he teaches artists how to become better artists. And so we were talking through a type of assessment that he could do for his market. And I was showing him an example of one where, in this case, it was, what type of entrepreneur are you? Are you like Mark Zuckerberg? Are you like a Richard Branson? Are you like a Jeff Bezos? All these different types of entrepreneurs. Well, I said he could do the exact same thing. Like, what type of an artist are you? And he would have a series of questions that he would ask people. And based on their responses, it would lead them to, okay, you're this type of artist. You're like Michelangelo or whatever. Think about how you could do that in the fitness industry. Like you could talk about like which type of workout is tailor-made for you. Like what kind of facility would be best for you. And, there's all kinds of different types of assessments that you could create where people want to go. They'll answer a bunch of questions. And then at the end, you'll say, okay, give me your name and email, and I'll send you the results of the assessment. And I'll tell you, what kind of XYZ you are. People love that kind of stuff. And so that's a great way to get people in. And then it's a great way to be able to follow up with them based on what you've learned about them, and be able to cater the messaging and the marketing accordingly.
With both of those examples that you've just given us, Stu, it really is about finding those ways that you can find a deeper connection with the prospect, isn't it? It's about taking the time to understand them that much better. And I love that second example that you gave with that comparison, because in the fitness industry, you're right. That's what people care about. They want to know where they're at in comparison to someone else, or have that scale that they can start on at the very least, and it will help them in that journey. So thank you so much for those examples.
Yeah, and the one thing that I would say is that one of the core beliefs I have about marketing is that the longer the runway, the bigger the result. And what I mean by that is that most people approach marketing like the 17-year-old male who's on his hot date for the first time, and he's like so excited that he's on a hot date, and he just wants to hit a home run right out of the gate, if you know what I'm saying. And if he would just take his time and be patient, then in the long run, he's more likely to get what he wants. But what happens is most 17-year-old males are so, excited that they rush things. And that's how most business owners are when it comes to marketing, is that they try to go from lead to sale as quickly as possible. And unfortunately, it comes off very aggressive, and it turns people off, and yada, yada, yada. And so what I would say is just be patient, but be strategic and smart about it, but be patient. And so like I love taking time nurturing leads where I'm not even hinting towards anything that I'm selling. And I just want to build a relationship with them that's all based around the things that we've already discussed: values, beliefs, philosophies. I want to communicate that I understand who they are by telling stories of other people like them who have the same external and internal challenges and struggles. Because by the time we get through much of the, a lot of this follow-up and campaign, they are so eager to buy that selling is almost effortless because they feel understood. They know that you can provide the solution. They're ready to buy, and so it just makes selling and business so much more fun and easy. So the last piece of that is just be very patient in your campaigns before you ask for the sale. Just take the time to really nurture that relationship. And by the time that you eventually do ask for the sale, you're going to hit a home run.
Before we finish with Stu today, I did ask him to tell us about the charity that he and his wife started, the World Teacher Aid, because I'm conscious that each week our guests come on and we talk about how you can grow your business and how you can be more successful. And that is what the Fitness Business Podcast is all about. But I also personally truly believe that feeling fulfilled in our career and our life extends beyond that. And Stu has found a way of using his success to help accomplish his why. Have a listen.
Yeah, well, I just think that for those of us who are entrepreneurs, I mean, we have such a gift, like we're able to have an idea, put it out there into the marketplace, and people pay us for our ideas, which is amazing, right? They pay us for our creations and the services that we provide. And it's it's a tremendous gift. And the other big gift about it is that there's no limits. There's no limits on how much you and I can make. But here's the problem. And I don't know if anybody in your audience has ever experienced this, but I definitely did in my early career. And that was, I used to feel really guilty about making a lot of money. And it wasn't on a conscious level that I felt guilty. It was way more on a subconscious level. So in the early days, my business would get to a certain level. It would get to like $300,000, $400,000 a year. And then all of a sudden, I would start doing stupid things that would sabotage my own success. I wouldn't call clients back. I wouldn't follow up. I don't know what I was doing. I was an idiot. But it wasn't that I was consciously doing this. It was all happening on a subconscious level. And I didn't really realize what was going on until a few years later when my wife, who is definitely the visionary behind the charity, we were in Kenya and we were looking to build our very first school. And we were trying to figure out how much things cost. And so I'm talking to the chairman of this community way out in the middle of nowhere in Kenya. And I was just trying to figure out how much things cost. And I remember asking him, I said, how much does it cost to fund the full-time salary of a teacher? And he looked at me and he's like, it's about $100 a month. And in that moment, I was just like, well, wait a minute. I'm selling a piece of software for $97. And I was like, well, what if I just make one more sale and then I just use that and, contribute it to the salary of a teacher? I was like, think of the impact I could have there. And then I thought, well, whoa. I'm like, dude, Stu, what if you make a whole lot more money? That gives you a whole bunch more money that you could use to have an even greater impact. And that's when the floodgates really opened up for me, because what I realized was there is nothing wrong with making money. In fact, I love making money now. And I don't feel guilty about it at all. In fact, I think it's a very honorable thing, because when you make money, you're in a position at that point where you can do whatever you want with it. You could buy nice things, which, hey, you've earned the right. There's no problem with that. But similarly, you can also use it to impact other people's lives. And for me, that's a gift that we have as entrepreneurs that nobody else has. And so when I think about why I do what I do and why I'm so driven and why I'm so hungry and why I want to make so much money, it's not because I want to use it for selfish purposes, but trust me, my wife and I love living a nice lifestyle. But it's also because it gives us the opportunity to be able to impact a lot more people's lives. And I just think that, there's no more efficient way, higher leveraged way to be able to impact people's lives than making money. Because trust me, we have our own charity. We build schools. I could go and I could volunteer my time 365 days of the year. But I will have way greater impact using the skills that I have and that you have as a listener, as an entrepreneur, by making money and then using that money to create a ton of leverage and being able to have impact in other ways. And so, that's why I do what I do. And that's why I love being an entrepreneur. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping other entrepreneurs, because for me, the more entrepreneurs that I can help, create more revenue in their business, more profits, and in a less stressful way, the more entrepreneurs are going to be in a position to be able to impact other people's lives. And that's really exciting.
Thank you to Stu McLaren for coming on the show today. You can contact Stu via visiting his website, which is stu.me, and make sure you take a listen to his new podcast, which you can find at marketingyourbusiness.com.
Get ready for this week's bonus segment, your extra injection of information, education, and inspiration to strengthen your fitness business.
Ryan Mckenzie has worked in the fitness industry as a coach and personal trainer for over 12 years and has amassed more than 10,000 hours in one-on-one group and team training. And as I mentioned earlier, Ryan is the author of the book, I Hate Selling, a book that he's written for fitness professionals. I invited Ryan onto the show so he could share some of his tips on personal training sales. Welcome to the show, Ryan.
It's good to be here, Chantal. Excited.
Now, can you start by sharing with us the best piece of sales advice that you've ever heard?
Yes. So the best sales advice that I've ever been given and that I give to most personal trainers, it sounds very simple, but it starts with relationships. And as soon as you hear that, everyone says, yes, I know it starts with relationships, but you have to let people know that you care. And the way it works is not just caring yourself, but showing them that you care, and almost even asking yourself the question, do they know that I care? Because the way we communicate that we care is key. And everyone will tell you relationships first, you have to care, but it's more than that. It's, do they know that I care, and how am I presenting that? So if you can ask yourself that question, that will start every sale that you're going to make the right way. It'll lay the groundwork. It'll set the atmosphere, however you want to think about it. Do they know that I care?
I couldn't agree more. In your experience, what's one of the best ways that you have, either yourself or seen one of the people that you work with, actually show a client that they care?
It's a great question. So the best way to start with it is to listen. And then as I'm talking about this advice here, it's all common sense stuff, but it's amazing how when you get in front of a client, the common sense goes out the window, and you get in front of a prospect and you forget what's next. The main thing is most trainers, most gyms, most online trainers, most trainers in a big box gym, whoever you are, they want to throw out offers. Try this, try this, try this, try this, rather than ask the right question and really actually listen instead of thinking about how can I offer them? How can I close them? What can I do next? Ask the right question, really honestly listen.
Great advice.
It changes everything.
Absolutely. So, Ryan, do you think that you could share with us 3 ways that a personal trainer can improve their closing ratio?
Definitely. So this is one of my biggest pet peeves, actually. So most trainers and most training gurus, they will tell you we need to increase our closing ratio. We need to overcome objections, and we need to talk about benefits rather than features. Like, those are big 3 things that are like buzzwords right now for sales. And if you're talking about features instead of benefits with your equipment or your classes, then you're way behind. But the main thing here is not how can we overcome objections, how can we close them on the spot, but it's how can we walk them through a process. So the number one thing is to have a process with your sales. You want to make sure you're walking yourself through the process, because otherwise you're going to keep talking and talking and talking and talking. So number one, have a process for your sales. You do it with your training. You do it with your classes. You need to do it with any selling situation. Number 2, stop talking, start listening. Number 3, you have to find out who is influencing them. And that may seem like you're jumping the gun to other opportunities and other things, but if you don't know who their husband, their wife, their kids, their boss, whoever is influencing them, those are your future sales. Those are obstacles you need to overcome to help them see results. You have to find that out within the sales process. And those are 3 big things that most people miss right off the bat.
Great one. And for all of our managers out there, people that are managing a personal trainer, what advice would you give to them as far as what's the best support that they can give a PT who's maybe struggling with converting leads to paying clients?
So if you have a trainer who's struggling, I would get down in there with them and let them see you do it. Be right beside them, walk them through it, role play with them. I find most of the time we find the person who's struggling and we try to guilt them into it. We try to push them into it, and we try to make them feel bad about it. What we need to do is the person who's struggling. Find out what they're good at, find out what they are passionate about, and see if we can marry those things together. And that's what's going to also help them make the most money. So if you can find what you're good at, what you're passionate about, and what makes you money, and you can merge those three things, you can take a trainer who's not very good. And I was a trainer who was not very good. And I was able to come out of that because I put those things together. We spend far too much time with our trainers who are bad and making them feel bad, rather than our trainers who we can find the one good thing they're doing, or our trainers who are really great and maybe they don't even know how good they are, and we can push them even to higher levels. So if you're a manager, go find your top 20% trainers and find out what they need, and find your bottom 20% trainers and find out the one thing that you see in them, and just speak life into that over and over and over again.
Ryan, one of the things that I love that you categorize in your book is you talk about 3 different types of trainers that exist. Do you reckon you can just give us a quick overview of those 3 types of trainers?
Definitely. So there's 3 attitudes, 3 training attitudes we can fall into. And I see everyone is one of these 3, maybe even within the same hour with the same client, you can be this person. You have Freddie Faker, you have Timmy Taker, and you have the Rainmaker. So Freddie Faker is the guy who is quiet, maybe a little too reserved. He holds back. He kind of is just, his biggest thought is, well, I shouldn't have to sell, that my work should speak for itself, and they should come to me. They'll ask when they're ready. That's kind of what he's saying to himself. That's what he says to other people. I don't want to be a salesy trainer. I don't want to be a pushy trainer. I'm going to hold back, and they're going to come to me when they're ready. And the sad part is this guy usually is one of your best trainers because he's studied the most, because he keeps to himself. He knows his anatomy. He knows the way the body moves. He knows what people need, but he's not confident enough, and he doesn't push enough to see people ever get really big changes. So from there, Timmy Taker, this is the guy who is your typical used car salesman. What do I have to do to get you signed up with me today? And he wants to push and push and push. He doesn't care about you. He just cares about the dollar. He just cares about the session. How many people can I cram into my class? How many hours can I cram into my day? I've been that guy too. And it's not fun for you. It's not fun for your clients. It's not fun for people watching you, because you think you're doing something great and you're brushing right past everyone who really needs you. So you've got the drive, but can you slow down and actually listen? And the Rainmaker, it's easy to say we don't want to be the faker. We don't want to be the taker. We want to be the Rainmaker. He's right in the middle, but he's on another level. This is the guy who, like I said, asks the right questions, waits and listens, and then pushes when he needs to. So he's not quite in the middle. He's actually taking the good things from Timmy Taker, the push, the drive, and he's taking the good things from Freddie Faker, just the slow and steady, methodical view of his training, and he's pushing those together to really help people and really make a difference.
I like how you break down the 3 scenarios, and as you're talking through them, I know that I can go, yep, I can think about my local gym and identify where each of those attitudes and behaviors and personality types fall in. And I'm sure a lot of people... It's
funny how names pop in your head when you start to hear them, yeah.
Just as you talk through it. So I think it's a good part of the book, because it is a good way of identifying where ourselves as trainers might be sitting, or where people in our team might be sitting. And you also give some great tips around how we can move ourselves more towards that Rainmaker rather than the other 2.
Right.
Now, earlier on, you also mentioned how important it is to have a system or a process when it comes to sales. And you have devised a 6-step system. Do you want to give us a brief overview of that system?
Yeah. So real quick, the question I always ask to start when people ask about this, to think about the best salesperson you know. Who would that be for you, Chantal? Do you have somebody who jumps to you, maybe an industry, or someone who's the best salesperson?
Yeah, look, I've got a few in the industry that I know, but I've got a name in my head. Yep. Okay, sure. So everyone's got a name, and I'm thinking maybe even outside of fitness. If you think about, and I don't know how it is in Australia, but if you think about your doctor, your doctor is going to be the best salesperson you know. If he's a good doctor, if he knows his stuff and he really cares, he'll be the best salesperson you know. Because this is what they do. They show you that they care, they find your pain, and they offer you a solution right there. And they're not begging you for it. They're not lowering their prices. They're not having a deal. They're just doing what they do excellently and helping you. So we use the doctor as a role model and as an acronym. And I'll run through those 6 steps real quick, if that's okay with you. Yes, please do.
Sound good. So, Dr. D, do they know that I care? That's step one. And these are steps, these are tests for yourself. So write these down and test yourself. D, do they know that I care? O, ouch, where's the pain? After they know that I care, they've opened up. Now I can find out where their pain really is. C, are they committed or just complaining? And we all know the guy in the gym who just wants to complain about his bad back or complain about his gut or complain about whatever it might be that she's worried about. Do they really want to do something about it? And at that point, T, top dollar, we can talk about money. And we can find out if they're really willing to pay what we're worth. And then O, outside influences. Are there other influences that are affecting this decision? And then R, ready to go, and referrals. A lot of people don't know, and I'll leave you with this one tip here. They don't know that right in that sales process is the time to ask for a referral. When they're excited, when they're signed up, you want to plant the seed early that this is not just for you. This is for everyone in your life. When they see you, I want more people coming in. And there's a right way to ask for that. We're not just going to flat out and say it like that, but there's a way to plant that seed right when they sign up to get them excited to bring even more people to you. It's really exciting.
Hey, Ryan, I love your 6-step system. So thank you so much for giving us a really quick overview. And of course, you go into a lot more detail about that in the book itself. So if anyone wants to get their hands on the book, what do they need to do?
You can get it anywhere books are sold, on Amazon, barnesandnoble.com, wherever you want to go there to get the ebook or the paperback copy. Or if you want a free chapter download, IHateSellingBook.com.
Ryan, thank you so much for coming on today. Thank you for sharing your experience for personal training sales. It's great to hear about the book. So thank you very much for joining us on the show.
It's been a blast. Thanks, Chantal. I appreciate it.
In case you missed it last week, I have got a task for you all. We're trying to see how far and wide the Fitness Business Podcast family spans the globe. So I would love you to post a photo standing in front of your facility with your business name, your logo in the shot, and put it up on your social media page and hashtag FBP family, because I want to see where you all are all over the world. Next week is show 100. I've got a big lineup of special guests coming your way, but I'm going to keep it a little bit of a secret for now. So over the next few days, make sure you keep an eye out on our Instagram and Facebook pages for a few hints of what is coming your way. You can find both of those accounts under Fitness Business Podcast. Until then, I'm going to hand over to one of our former guests to finish off today's show.
Hi, I'm Michelle Bowden, and I was a Fitness Business Podcast guest. You've just been listening to another outstanding guest. If you know someone who could benefit from listening to the show, please share the show by email, Facebook, or Twitter, all possible on this week's show notes. If you really want some tips, you had better visit my show too. Trust me, it's a cracking show as I share my takeaways on persuasive communication and presenting in business that you can use at work and you can also use in your personal lives. Just go to www.fitnessbusinesspodcast.com and in the search bar, type my name, Michelle Bowden, and my show's going to pop up. That's this week's show, and Chantal will be back next week with another guest. Cheers for now.
Great show this week that you should be suffering DOMs, delayed onset mind soreness, as you are overloaded and that's when your mind is strengthened. You and your business have been strengthened thanks to the amazing support of our premier sponsor, Active Management. Check out www.activemgmt.com.au only if you want to strengthen your business and your leadership. Don't forget all today's links and notes are found at www.fitnessbusinesspodcast.com, where you can also subscribe and never miss a show and maybe win a prize. Next week is another incredible guest with Chantal, so get ready for more Fit Bizpiration.